Fuck Carl Jung. There, we all warmed up. Yay! Okay, so let's get into that a little bit here. Why did I say that? Two reasons. One is that he did some things right, but I think he got more wrong than he got right. And the second reason is that to me should be fairly apparent, but a lot of humans can't think for themselves. And so they like quote that, like Jung said this and Jung said that. I really don't give a shit what he said. I mean, not unless he can do what I can do, which he couldn't. Otherwise we would see it, he'd be here. So, no. So what are these things? Well, there's a lot. I don't know if really going on, because personally, just he's just small time compared to all the geniuses that I'm going to be getting out there in the big Shark Tank with. So it's kind of annoying. That's why I'm not going to bother with these forums. So when my students want to do that, and I want to give them the opportunity to do that because it makes them feel more confident in their material. They feel that they want to walk what they can do, since right now we've seen the reads coming in from a few different forums, enough to kind of start making some initial, obviously always with a larger data sample, but initial sort of statistics, and the percentages are really, really low of accuracy. So right now, I'm going to say, actually, I believe last night, the team was looking over a lot of your things. They came to me and I looked at some of the cases to confirm they're on the right track. I will be sampling some of these, but I just can't bother because they're reading all your guys' stuff, and you probably are getting a lot out of this because they show off for you. I'm really not. My other actually makes me want to do this, but they want to show off for you. They're probably making a lot of you feel stupid, but the upside is they're giving information that you've never gotten on your own in like a gazillion years. I know, I've been watching your progress. You're not getting close to it, and yes, you're going the wrong way, and the ones that are going the right way, you have not done the heroic things with your ship in order to get there. So you're going like, slug speed. You would take you like thousands of years to get there at that pace. Yeah, I think actually all the disciplines technically would at some point meet in the middle. It's a question of speed. So that's one thing that a lot of people don't understand is like, when it comes to like theory, everyone, whether they know it or not, is actually an omni-theorist. It doesn't matter what, if you're like a Nigel Kensey, you probably know this. It doesn't matter what you start on, if it's like photography or art or cooking or whatever, you kind of use that to understand everything else. Science too, it's why like, if you start with like, say Dawkins or Sagan, they're real sciencey, but the more you do that, the more you bump in the totality of life, so you actually have to start saying what you think that means for, say, monotheism. Even if you don't believe in monotheism, you'll notice they both speak on the subject. Why? It's actually technically a scientific phenomenon. Humans are a scientific phenomenon, and they're doing that. So that's actually scientific, interesting. They're doing this monotheistic thing. So any model and continue on it and not get into that. Like you're a prize fighter. That seems very singular. Not the best ones, because the best fighters will tell you, best competitors. I use fighters because it seems so extreme. But you need to have your relationships set up right. You need to feel good about what you're doing. You need to be in an environment, a bubble, both with say sound, stimulation, whatever that is conducive to you in order to be your best. So if you start out like, I just be the best fighter ever. Look at George St. Pierre, for example. Most of the best ones, Anderson Silva, like, you really can't be that good without being like, a more heroically formidable person at your core. And then you kind of like channel into something. That's the key. So, moving on with Jung. Academia. This is my first gripe. It's the one other really doesn't like. My other's really, really nice. She's really sweet, she's really awesome. She can be really, really ferocious and imperious, particularly if things offend her Jai. So this has come from her now. The words, I come with the words, but she vibes me and I know what she wants me to say, or the kind of thing. She thinks he's a pussy. So that's what I think. I think Jung is a punk. He punked out. My Jai is really nice, but she likes nice heroes. She doesn't like punks. So why was he a punk? He was a punk, a spiritual punk, because his archetypes, spirit forms, told him that what he was doing was art. And he turned away from that knowingly. He knowingly turned away from that and made it science. He dumbed it down, which meant he dumbed it down for himself too. Which makes sense because his spirits were talking to him and said, Art, they were lying to him. They were lying to him. Spirits do sometimes, but they give it to you in the form you can swallow. So it's not lying, but it's sort of like, you know, putting honey around a medicine pill. I mean, it's not lying, but you are sugarcoating it. So yeah, his muse other was sugarcoating that, saying it's art. She wanted more. She wanted him to say it was spiritual. You know, she wanted him to actually make it a life path and say that's what it was, and then show it to everyone and battle anyone who would say it's not so, and build institute. There should have actually been an empire of proper archetype use, for example. He didn't do this for two reasons, one leading the other. He turned away from higher spirit forming, which is why I'm way stronger than him. And that meant that was the end of his math, his correct math. Spirit forms have way higher math. So he punked out at art, and that was actually the nice thing, or not the nice thing, that was small time. His spirits were showing him the artistic implications so that he would hopefully accept that, and once he accepted the artistic implications, he would realize these spiritual implications. But he wimped out, and he just went with, I wouldn't say scientific, because I don't want to ding science, because science is awesome and science can be spiritual. Institutional, academic. That was a form of, and I'm allowed to say this, if you don't think I can say this, you're stupid. I can read him, I can read any human, and I can tell you what their development is, and I can read their theories, and I can tell you where they went wrong, where they went right and where they went wrong. He had some serious memes issues. His Austrian Germanic meme, which has a lot of wonderful things to it, but that did affect what he was seeing. I'm telling you right now that this is post-Jungian work. These are like people who took his work, ran with it, then people took that work, like MBTI, whatever, ran with it, all the levels, and the amount of prejudice that is uniform across the board is still staggering, and the boards, these forum boards, where are the people who know what they're doing, your accuracies at what you are horrendous. Okay, so I'm going to definitely say that I'm way superior to Jung in a way that really I don't have to consider very much, because he was like of that archetype-y thing with the cognitive function, whatever. That was like, we'll say version 1.0, and he probably got it from somewhere else. He expanded from things he learned from alchemy and whatnot. But like MBTI and these other things, that was like 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, 5.0. 5.0 is shit. Seriously, you can make that 10.0, you can make it 20.0. You're never going to catch up with the way I'm doing, because I didn't come at it that way. I came at it like a hero. Jung kind of got bushwhacked a bit. He felt bushwhacked, and I understand that. I got bushwhacked too by my spirits, and they wanted him to do stuff, and he accepted some, but not all of what they wanted to do. I accepted much more. I accepted much more of my spirit's heroic challenge, and I have cleared that bar. Yeah, that's basically it on that. I'll just say that that going at the shadows, lifting the thing up, is why can I equate that with weight? Because my next power also equates with a psychic weight. It's why it makes a little roundabout thing here. I'll go to Jung and I'll go back to that. Guess what? I hope you don't mind. Interpreters here, I'm going to jump around a bit.
We love it.
Thank you. I forgot what I was going to talk about there.
Jung, shadow.
Oh, the lifting the weights. Yes, correlating psychic weightlifting with physical weightlifting is, that's why I had to take this little sidetrack and talk about like Jung's prejudices. And that's the biggest thing. He actually, well, his biggest thing was that he did not go up as far in the spirit forming elevator of enlightenment as he should, and therefore he was weak. He's stronger than most humans, yes, but compared to what a Nai Alpha can be, and compared to me, weak. I can easily call him on that. And that led to a sign of weakness. A sign that I can forensically call out. Prejudice. He has a lot of prejudices that come from Mazutz that actually weighed his enlightenment down, and he could not see the correct math. Thus why Grigori feels the need to keep the pure, so he is not weighed down by stupidity, because to get the biggest weights, mental weights up, Nai is really good at that, lifting huge weights, and Ni making weights light. So that's, Nai tends to be very angry because it's like deadlift bulldogging it, and then the Ni is actually like casting like spells of levitation on it. Prejudices are weights, chips on shoulders you are unable to lift and shrug off. So they keep your you're thinking like this, and thus you can't do bigger stuff. Okay, so in the movie The Shadow, he went away over to exotic lands, lifted lots of psychic weights. Little Buddha kid lifts psychic weights, so he did that. And then he came back, and he of course had lifted psychic weights, so he was stronger. But also, he had detached into another world that required him to expand greatly. Now, it went a little dark. It was like low other, that exotic land that gave him special powers, and then he kind of comes back from that at the beginning of the movie. The beginning of the movie is like from him going from low other up to high Fumasta. I love the movie. So, yeah, I have terrible memory for most things, but like certain things I just OCD on. I actually can't get them out of my head. They're like, dude, like little tick-ticks. Shadow's cool. At least that Shadow, not the Jungian Shadow. That's not so cool. But that particular character, he was cool. In fact, though, he probably should change his name because like the Shadow kind of branded him as a Daryu sort of semi-anti-hero. Once he actually kind of, Fumasa upped, he should have, like, a lot of cultures have it, got a name change, you know what I mean? Rebranded, new outfit, you know what I mean? Different little thing. Sorry, went off on a tangent there. But prejudices are things that you weren't able to get off. Very much like, I think we all know this sort of colloquial expression, baggage. Baggage are weights that is on you, and you're unable usually to do two things. They're like chains of weights. Unravel that thing, which takes a great mental effort. It's a feat of like mental strength. And then once you know that, they're still on you and been on you for so long, they've gotten really big. So you have to be able to lift them off. So it's basically psychic weightlifting. So with mojo reading, one thing you're going to encounter with most people, and you're going to have to encounter yourself, is that to even begin this process, if you don't accept this, you're not hero enough to do this. But I think if you have good touch with your heroic self, you'll know what I'm saying is true. You actually have to accept that I'm going to have to shrug off of a lot of things before I can see straight. This gets to the second power, social alchemy. Not only can I read any human, which is an incredibly complex algorithm, it is an actual mathematical algorithm and it's massive. That's just each individual person. The alchemy of how that works, like the 20 social alchemies, all the way that goes, the riffs, keening, modulation, fetishes, ethnicities, and that's all one thing. I have all that in my head. No meme throws me. That's important. No meme throws me, and that starts with mojo reading. But also, there are people who, for example, my students, first thing you learn is you learn what the mojos are. But as they'll tell you, that's just the beginning superpower. The next superpower is, what does that all mean? In every encounter of your life, you're basically being affected by it, but you don't know what that is. But if you do know what it is, it's virtually like you're working in bullet time. Most of my life, I've used this, I've used it in a great many ways, but a lot of that was spent deciding which social alchemies to go into, which ones to leave, or when. Because sometimes the alchemy is one way. You're studying the humans and how their alchemy motifs are shifting into social alchemy, and you see that the brew is changing. Like, it was nice in here in the water, then the water got a little iffy. So this has allowed me to solve this problem. You are going to be limited right now. Like right now, if you're making any kind of career choices, that's the single biggest thing in a lot of ways for what your hero is going to do. You're kind of choosing, what am I going to put all my, my experience points in. That's what you're doing, like a Dungeons and Dragons game, whatever. Like, I'm going to put all my XP in that. So it's really crucial you get that right. There is a right way of doing it, but no one currently can do that. There's a right way of looking at a person going, they're that mojo, and this is their riff. That gives you incredible power over them as far as how much you tell them, what you tell them. Also, and this is going to sound awful, but it is a heroic power, but you understand this, it's hardcore humanist. In life, you can't save everyone. You can save everyone with the size of your ship and the amount of trajectory you can still get off the ground with. That doesn't always get everyone. So how do you choose? That sounds awful, I know, but that is the awesome, awful choices leaders have to make. How do you make such choices? By reading them. The greatest leaders ever, the greatest politicians, the greatest spiritual leaders had to decide who is enemy, who is friend, who can stay in the tribe, who has to go, who is toxic to agree that we can save. Can the tribe sustain that? Or do we need to kick them out? So these are so this goes back to the math. This is social alchemy. We're talking about leadership. These are the biggest choices humans have ever made. Size again. Wouldn't you agree that what a country does is one of the biggest decisions ever? What a congregation does, what any corporation does, how they treat, these are decisions that affect many, 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 many lives. They can affect histories for generations, thousands of years. All based really on social alchemy. Those black people are such and such. Besides being evil, and it is, evil has a new name. I'm calling it incorrect math. That's actually incorrect. Not only is it like toxic, there's a specific reason why it's toxic. Why is, say, alcohol toxic for you? There's an easy definition. You're not supposed to drink it. It hurts you. So there's a math to it. There's a math to alcohol hurting you. There's a science. They actually little cells, and you put a little alcohol in, and you see cells dying. You're like, that's not supposed to happen. And that's right? That's mathematically how you define it as toxic. It does bad things to you. Okay, so in social alchemy, you're making decisions of that person is this, and that is evil for the reason of it's incorrect. They're like this. You're disassociating from them, but almost certainly if there's like 16 or more of those people, then one of them is your mojo. Even less than 16, one of them's probably your other. Even less than that, one of them is related to you in some way, even if it's just one other person. Even the same mojo you are, even if they're the most opposite mojo you are, you're still related to them. Like that never goes away, and if you don't see that in every second of every day, you're wrong. Every second of every day? I'm curious, in scientific experiments with telescopes and with microscopes, are you allowed to ever let the screen get dirty? No. Are you supposed to distrust any data based on things on the screen that shouldn't be there, such as a smudge? Yes, everyone knows this. The lens must be kept clear at all times. Nothing must enter the Petri dish except what's supposed to enter there. You're not supposed to allow birds to crap on your lens if you can. If they do crap on your telescope lens, you have to clean it off. And during the periods where the lens has bird doo-doo on it, that data is all suspect. It looks like a new nebula. Okay, I'm sorry, but I mean, I don't even make fun of people, but I mean, yeah. Yeah, bird crap nebula. Okay, so the social alchemy superpower that I have means that every time I'm watching TV, every time I am reading a book of anyone that I know their mojo of, I actually know what's going on. On TV, I see two people talking, I see an interviewer and interviewee, I see political people talking in a debate, I see people doing a suction in some sort of way. I know what that means. Not just besides that obvious stuff, all the math under that. So I am correctly seeing the matrix that's going on, which means my human math, either doing it or understand what's going on, is correct, which means predictions. That's how you make predictions. Because if you take one super clear picture, and it looks like this, and you take another super clear picture, and it looks like this, and then so on and so forth. The more that happens, the more you can start predicting that something like that's going to happen. But only if you actually keep making the screen clear and keep making it bigger and bigger and bigger. So keep expanding it and making the resolution better. I mean, that's basically the secret to it. I have superhuman, with mojo reading and social alchemy, I have superhuman scope and resolution on my lens. And that's not whiffy, that's a math. I can literally see a math that other humans can't. My best students right now, school, they can correct the math of all the experts right now, like Nora Thompson, Kurt, anyone stupid enough, they all made so many misreads, and my students can correct that. And my students have so much more they want to do and grow. We're just getting to like the American Chopper, the incredible complexity of social alchemy, and it's just like the tip of the iceberg. But this is a lens that you can use, not unlike certain altered states, either stationary or in sport, that's so unusual that people who can do that, they can like, you know, like in the food eating contest, they can like eat like way more than the other competitors. Usually over time, people realize, aha, you mix this with this, it makes steel. And then all of a sudden people are like, aha, you can do that. So that's why you guys should be really into this, because the reason I'm superhuman is for a very human reason, which means any human can actually do it. I, of course, will have to keep going further so I can keep being superhuman, but I'm not the lame kind of Naiji. I'm not Fozen, and I don't have a weak Nai that doesn't like to remodel. I like to remodel if it's worthy of doing so. For example, like back in the Olympics, there was a time when I think some athletes weren't allowed to go. Some political stuff, they got banned or whatever. Boycotted, yes. So they got boycotted, and what kind of they boycotted? I forget how it happened, but basically they didn't show up. So the other athletes, the wimpy ones, and you can be an elite wimpy athlete, because once you get into the realm of elite, then there's the elite within elite. So the elite within the elite, well, the not so elite within the elite, they actually were happy. You know why? Their chances of getting a medal went up, because that country had a lot of hitters. They had a lot of people who were probably going to medal. Not the best of the best. They wanted the opportunity to say, for real, unequivocally, they were the best, and they were robbed of that opportunity. They actually wanted the challenge. So I'm built like that. I want you all to learn how to mojo read so you'll stop being stupid, because I don't like it when you're like that. And I want you to do better, but I am ambitious. A lot of people think you can't be ambitious. That's not true. The secret of greatness, I'll tell you, because a lot of my kind actually pair up sometimes in packs or just two, and you'll see this dynamic a lot. And you see a lot, not just of record breaking, but a lot of like Nai Alpha record breaking together, particularly like Naiji, they back up like that. And you'll see them have this relationship, which is, I love you. I love you like a brother, a friend, a battle compatriot. I trust you with my life. And it is my sincerest wish, from my other to me to you, that you do the best performance you have ever done in your life. This is we're competing in the same sport. We're going to the same event. You'll often see sometimes the best actually train together with their worst opponent. Their worst opponent's their best friend. There's a lot of that. A lot of double Naiji where their worst opponent is their best friend. So they're like, I want you to give the best performance ever. I personally want to see my friend hit an unprecedented performance. So unprecedented, I want my friend to break the world's record. And not by a little. I want my friend to smash that record, utterly obliterate it, and get second place. And get second place. Okay, and so and that's the correct. Just know that is why so many records get broken by Naiji, is that dynamic. So that's what I want. So I want you all to learn how to be superheroes if you have the right temperament, character, disposition, if you make the right choices. Otherwise, I don't teach you. But the right ones, I do want to teach you, and then I'll have to keep figuring out what don't humans know now, because now you know that. So I'll keep going ahead. All right, so back to Young. I think he had some issues. I told you the main one was he kind of backed down. He kind of wimped out. He punked out on the Enlightenment elevator. His other wanted him to go higher. He didn't do it. So this caused some issues. One is that he went down to safety of academia. He used it as a crutch. And that academic approach heavily influenced the way he organized things and the way he understood things. He made that his frame lens. And that frame lens was very, very limited, which I'll get into other things in a minute. But that was an impingement on what it was supposed to be. So he actually did, not only did he back down, this is different, that was just wimpy. This, he was trying to do the right thing, and I give him credit for doing some of that, but he also did a tremendous disservice. He gave enough art that it was an insight that moved people more than they've been moved in a lot of ways. But it was couched in this academia way, and his demeanor and bearing, and the way he, the way he wrote his stuff, and how he very much wanted to sound smart. The academia thing, it was important to him. He wanted other academics to think he was smart. He should have wanted his other to think he was smart. He should have wanted his Fumatsu to think he was smart. He should have wanted his shiny baby to think he was smart. So because of that, it caused a reaction, which is why most people who are coming up with this Jungian function thing, you're going to be taking his prejudices. Know that. His work has a lot of problems with it, so you want to actually get that out of your system right away. And the fastest way is to learn from me. I mean, you can do it on your own. I'm sure a lot of you are instinctually going, I don't like this, I don't like that. I can fast track you. I can just tell you all the shit that's wrong, and you can just start from there. I mean, you can do it on your own, but you'll never get anywhere close to me in your entire lifetime. I can actually get you there in like, 1 weekend. Once you see like that, it changes your vision. Being able to mojo read and being able to, I'm calling it another thing, because it is another superpower. Being able to mojo read and being able to social alchemy read. These change the way you look at everything. And once you have that vision, you can literally look at anyone's work, like the totality of Jung's work, and go, no, 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 yes, no, 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 kind of, sort of. And it's actually much faster than actually going through and actually correcting his work. Even I think Jung had that concept of deconstructing versus constructing. If you try and actually figure out why everyone messed up, that's healthy to some degree, but you actually spend most of your time dealing with losers. No offense to Mr. Jung. But it's kind of like being certain kinds of detectives. If you only do detective stuff on like really nasty cases, this is well known, you have to take psychological breaks. Like you work serial killer cases, you can't stay on them because the case itself messes your head up. So this is the next thing he did. So he kind of portrayed the powers he had, because Jung had some fairly supernatural powers at his time. As I think, superhuman powers, they stay superhuman until people realize how you make steel. Until then, all the iron-using tribes, they're like, those people are like elves. They have like +3 vorpal swords. No, technically it's steel, but at that time, since you don't have steel, that counts as a vorpal blade. But then eventually we go, aha, and then it's just steel. But that's how it works. So Jung had that aura. He had the aura of a person who saw higher knowledges. But he didn't go as high as he should have, which was the wimpy part, and then he took that aura and he put it in the mazout of academia, which led people to believe, and Nai Alpha, actually, all 4 of the Nai mojos, because they have this Tao way with the Nai, people look at the V and whatever else this is, of how they roll, and kind of interpret that Nai mastery, badass, cunning wins a lot with that. And Nai mojos have to be aware of that, that people actually are going to look at how they roll and go, that's cool, and they'll start dressing like you and talking like you, and doing notation on their infinitely long emails like you. So you have to take responsibility for that, and Jung didn't, because he just said out of his own mouth that it was supposed to be art. Yet he put himself in that form of Fumasta, which is confusing the students. You know what I mean? Not only did he whip out, he's now confused. That's horrible. If you, like for me, I would like to believe that no matter how hard the truth was, I would tell it to people. But if it was so hard, and I have contemplated this, I did, I have my moments of doubt and weakness as well, but usually I'm much higher. It's like, I know it's true, but I don't know if I feel like dealing with the fallout. So I either, well, mainly just I don't want to show it yet. I'll show it when I can't be held accountable. So it's mainly like holding out. But, and that's weak. I ding myself for that. My other dings me for that. That's me back down from his other. But a worse crime, which he committed a crime, I'm sorry, but he did. He committed a theoretical crime, and it's a spiritual crime, and it's one crime, but it's a bad one. And it made all these other miniature crimes happen. It's kind of like, murder, kidnapping, breaking and entering, lying, stealing a credit card. Those are all there, but I think we all agree that like the murder spree kind of was the main thing that made all the other shit happen, because people kind of got on him about the murder spree. So what happened is, if I knew that my other or higher wanted it to be art and was saying it was art, but I was not strong enough to do that, I would simply keep it to myself, and that is what I've done. Because to portray it in any other way, it's like playing with nitroglycerin. When you bring a new Nai thing into the world, particularly, the power that brings in is game-changing power, and that requires proper shepherding. And this can be G shepherding or Z shepherding, but you gotta like handhold that shit. You can't just like invent nuclear technology and go, okay, I'm done now. You can't. You know what I mean? That, you've introduced something like that you have to make sure it's done properly. In fact, you really should not show how to crack an atom unless you know how the people are going to be using atom cracking technology. And so he didn't. He both himself knew that he needed to go further than just crack the atom. He had to do other things, but he didn't. He wimped out there. And then he put it in a forum that's not conducive for that. You don't do art in that academia way. It's right out of the gate wrong. Okay, Young was right. He was right out of the gate wrong, and he knew it. He was right out of the gate wrong. He knew it, and he kept doing it. Now he tried. I mean, he brought spiritual talk in. He did, but no, mainly he wimped out. I have to say I'm able to call that, and he did more wimping out than he did heroing up. So that's his score. So some cool stuff, a badass, but you could have done better. So next, gender bias. He's got a lot of gender bias in his thinking. It affects the way he thinks of everything. Seriously, you can throw all those words around, anima, animus, blah, blah. Just know this, every single one of them came from his mind. And I can forensically prove what his mojo is, which not most people, a lot of you are getting wrong because there's like controversy on that. There's no controversy on that. There's controversy to you. To your model, yeah, you guys are battling back and forth on what he is, blah, blah, blah. Go ahead and keep battling because that battle's over now. There's actually proof we can do that. He has film. So actually that's not debatable. But once you see that and can read him, you'll be able to see that he was a very, very smart man. He had a lot of abilities, but his functionality and the way it came out in his manifestations and in his work did show some clear prejudices. So you were getting tainted data. So don't bring up and go, Young said this, because you're just saying tainted data. Yeah, that's what I hear. I hear tainted data said this. That's all I hear, because you're bringing up the work of someone who, A, got answers wrong. Because I'm telling you right now, I don't care how smart you think Young was. The best readers right now who work off of what he had, which means there's got to be some people out there who had, over that time period, 50 plus years, who had somewhere close to his kind of intellect as a mojo and had access to what he could do. And they're reading his shit. So I don't know how good his could be. I don't think he even got it down to 16 mojos. Okay, so everything he wrote was from a mind that couldn't even get past like 8. I think he got like 8 just on the main power. Yeah. That's so primitive. Okay, so everything he said, anima, animus, that comes from a person who thought at that level. That's what you're doing. Okay, so know that. I'm saying this now, so when you say that to me, you already know what my opinion is of that. And I think I'm completely right on this. I'm going to go out there and just prove it forensically, and I'll either get killed or triumphant based on that. There's only nothing that you can say that has anything to do about that. Next, mojo biased. And I'm allowed to say this because I'm a Ni Alpha. There's a lot of Ni Alpha stuff like Buddhism, being disassociated, detached, whatever you call it. You're supposed to reattach. If you detach, just keep things being attached all the time, lets me see that the world is just a game. No, it's the game you're playing, so actually you've drifted into disassociation. There's actually a lot of like disassociation that's made sort of poetic. Yeah, poetic disassociation is kind of put out there a lot, and a lot of them are by my mojo, Naji. Oh yeah, they don't just focus in on science, they focus in on everything. That's one of them. It's just a game. Meaning somehow it's like unimportant, and the more importance you place on it, somehow you're missing it. That's why it's yang yin, not yin yang. Because yeah, the universe is here, it's happening, it's kind of a big deal. And we are part of that big deal, so actually addressing the math any other way is actually mathematically incorrect. Because if you have bubbles of 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, we actually were born in the 1. So our understanding of everything comes from that. So yeah, math's like that. It's all about how you start. You start like Grigori. If you come at it wrong, to the wrong mental state, actually everything will be off. So those are off. He actually has a lot of Ni Alpha bias. A lot of Ni Alpha bias. And you Ni Alpha should be bothered by this because his opinion of Ni Alpha is not really where it should be. And this is because his connection with this other isn't where it should be. And why was that? Wasn't as heroic as it should be. We keep getting back to the point in case you think we strayed far afield. No, it's all back to being a hero. Because how can you be a superhero if you don't be a hero, right? Really, yeah, it pretty much goes hero is you don't let your Daryu master you, hopefully. But then you go further to what your other wants, which takes even more nerve. It's kind of like, a lot of faux Zenners are like this. It bothers me. They actually think they're brave or strong-willed somehow, even if we're so weak. It's much easier, particularly if you're an IG, to stay still against something you want. Going forward, every step you take, all those who have a subjective discernment that have strong know what it is, there's the fear because you're actually saying with your Zai or Jai, for example, like the deepest sacred vital part, I really want that. That's what goes back to being a hero of like sacrifice and exposure. They're two crucial elements, and yes, sacrifice, exposure, and exertion. That's kind of being a hero, and that's the secret to greatness right there. And so it really doesn't matter what power you have. You'll notice that like at some point your power is going to need to go into another power, which needs to go into another power, and it keeps getting harder. You know what I mean? As my Nai goes to the Ji to the Zai, it keeps getting harder. But how else are you going to do it? And you don't actually think that a Nai Ji with like Nai and Zai is going to beat a Nai Ji Zai V1, do you? No. And a Nai Ji Zai V1 with a good connection to their unconscious Ni Jai Zi Vai, I mean, it's no contest. Literally. You can look at the development and the way of life of the people breaking most of the records, and I can tell you how they work in general by design, and I can tell you in social motif how they live their life. Okay, so back to Young. Mojo biased, and so he had the academia problem, the gender problem, mojo bias, gratuitous on all those, and he went with a well, this has two elements to it. There are two mistakes he made, but they're related. One is an overall cloistering of the knowledge, and this happens a lot with Nai Alpha. I'm not going to understand this. Is when you bring unprecedented knowledge into the world, you bring fire from the gods. There's a huge paranoid fear. I have it. You may notice by how the site's set up of it being used incorrectly. So Young was correct in some aspects that the things he was bringing into the world were going to be affecting people so strongly that it needed to be done correctly. That's true. But he kind of went with that means small. And a lot of Nai Alpha do that, and their other doesn't like that. Their other's like bigger. What about in China? What about in this? What about a youth program to teach them archetypes by doing basketball? I mean, shit like that. So like, I'm telling you right now that his other wanted him to not say it was academia. She certainly wanted him to read better than he did because she can read. His other, being a perfect spirit form, actually could read everyone better than he can, and she wanted him to get that knowledge, and he didn't. But she also wanted him to be more expansive and take it out. So I'm going to combine both the puncture and pipeline, but also demassification. So right now I'm focusing mainly on puncture and pipeline to secure myself. But then the next step I'm taking is to demassify as well, to bring as many people as I can, because I do recognize like you need to teach people things about mojo and social alchemy and spirit form very carefully, but you also have to make it as accessible as possible. The only way to do that is to actually make an entire tribe doing that all the time. And right there, Young was nowhere close to doing that. His math, he got all those things wrong just based on prejudices, but he also didn't even have past 8 things really, and able to constellate that into a whole tribal village, how natural law planned that to happen. Because if you listen to what he says and the words he writes, he doesn't know that. He says a lot of things like the anima animus for one thing, because the gender things that are really off. Those aren't actually true. So, the last one, which is related, it's sort of like cloistering, but it's another one, it's specific enough to count as another major fuck up, another crime on his rap sheet. Yeah, I'm sorry, Nai Alpha, we're allowed to do this, we're supposed to do this. We're actually supposed to look at other Nai Alpha and go, that's really cool, what did they get wrong? That's kind of how you work. And a large part of that is basically highlighting how their predictions are off. So Young was not able to really predict what a true human tribe is supposed to look like. Because as I said, the work of like version 5.0 of that is far more sophisticated, expansive, and nuanced than what he did, and that shit's crude. I mean, that's just really lame. In fact, my Nijai lament all the time of like, those descriptions they have over like ENFPs, that shit's so wrong. It's so clumsy. Really, and that's a pinnacle right now. That's the pinnacle. That and all the books on that and all the forums talking about that, that's like the most sophisticated it is. That shit is like so ugly and pathetic my other doesn't want to traffic with it. Okay, so another mess up he did, which goes along with being too small, but this is different than just size. There's size in overall size, and there's size of perspective scope, particularly perspective shifting. And this gets back to the detectives. Detectives who work on serial killer cases generally need to get like psychological relief every so often. Jung spent most of his life mojo reading psychological patients. This is another reason why I'm hammering the hero thing. I've gotten as far as I've gotten because I've spent my life studying heroes, both comic and real life. That's why I can do this math that's way beyond anything else anyone else can do. So he, like a detective that's around like very disturbing homicides a lot, he's basically seeing probably a majority of improper modulation, damaging keening, and stress lock behavior, and trying to constellate what normal life is. That's why we are going to have therapy groups and all kinds of stuff in our temples, but it's a temple first. Why hero? Why temple? Because you go with health, not with sick. Because that's why Jung never did, and neither any of the people who are doing extrapolations of that model. That's a poor data sample. So he had innate weaknesses you saw by backing down from his other that he admitted to. He had prejudices on these various things that are clearly in his work. He says them, and the forensics prove that they're not true. And now his practice, the samples that he spent his time with, are very dirty samples. Those are very toxic samples. So you're talking about a person, all that stuff that you're clinging to as like, that's like the word of, you know, natural law. No, it's not. That's the word of a very dirty lens. That's what that is, so know that. So those are the biggies. He kept it too small by making it too difficult to gain the knowledge. He could set up a proper mentoring system that would allow it to be a tribal thing so everyone in the tribe is doing it. That's my plan. I'm going to train the proper experts right now, but then it's going to roll out into everyone doing it. I think Jung probably intended that to happen someday, but he took way too long. He was too wimpy. He was not intrepid enough. Okay, so cloistered, overly academic, which gives prejudices, gender prejudices, mojo bias. He only knew about 8, not 16, and that's too small a number also. Because yeah, that dude would have really gotten thrown by 32 gender mojos. He fucks that up big time, big time. And then his lab specimens were toxic ones. He's trying to actually say that jaguars are like this, but all his jaguars actually have hip dysplasia. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think you can really say, I'm a jaguar expert. How? I saw over 5,000 jaguar specimens. 5,000 hip dysplasia jaguar specimens. Not a single one was running like a healthy jaguar, so you don't know shit. Okay, how much time we got?
We're at 45 minutes now.
Next.
There's plenty of other
Cool. I want to bring in a word, a phrase, just so you understand. Because since we're on the superhero things, it's a nice time to drop it out of new words, nasty gold, and things like that. This word is visionary Hulk. I'm going to go on and on about this because I kind of set the scene here. I'm just going to throw it in here to give you another metaphor that is already there. The Incredible Hulk gets stronger the angrier he gets. And this is seen as a very physical metaphor in general, but it's not. It's a very nigh metaphor. Like Bruce Banner's got to be a nigh alpha. So that character is being incorrectly impinged on physically. There's physical impingement on him, and so his rage keeps getting higher and higher and higher until no shackles can hold him. No barrier can stand in his way. Okay, Nye works very much like that, and the alpha really like this, in a conceptual idea, theoretical way, being able to understand something. When you're trying to understand things, Mr. Grigori, he understands this very well, Mr. Perlman understands this very well, which is that impingement is enraging and you have to make it go away. So I know people think I'm angry. I'm telling you right now, most of the really awesome Naiji are angry, even ones that don't look it, because I can actually make it look like I'm not angry at all. You would never know. I'm really good. My Zai's really good. I'm showing my anger to you because if I didn't, you don't mojo read good enough. You actually wouldn't know that's who I am. You think I was way more faux zen than I am. It would confuse. I can faux zen the best of them and actually think faux zenner's like, now that's a faux zenner. Man, he's a faux zenner. I can do that, especially if my Nye decides that'd be a fun game to win. You know what I mean? Like, I would be the best faux zenner in the room. Okay, I can do that, but that's actually not how I win. It's not how the best Nye Alpha win. They get angry at the impingement of stupid memes, of stupid mazoots. And so they get so angry that they wipe the canvas clean. For example, Einstein, who's Nye Alpha, I won't tell you which one he is again, but he's Nye Alpha. I know you people think he's something else. A lot of you know. Gosh, really stupid. Anyway, a classic example of that is when he got so frustrated. You hear this a lot, frustration. Does that sound better? Frustration. Okay, it goes beyond frustration to dissatisfied. It goes past that into anger. It goes beyond that into pissed off. It goes back beyond that into enraged, violently upset. How else does a person do a theory and certain calculations that are slightly off? But slightly off is embedded like a P. Underneath all the almost where they should be boulders that are really big and you've been stacking this whole time. Most people, Paul Sr., leave it. Right? Leave it. It's weak because that would take so much effort. But you have to be so angry at that imperfection. Like Junior, he can do it calm. I'm explaining to you, because you sometimes see it's very calm, but I'm explaining it's actually anger. When he says this is anger, I can't let it go. I can't let that go to the shop like that. You mean like it offends him? He's beautiful, and this is where the other comes in. The rage goes higher with the other. The beautiful design is blemished. That's offensive. It's like you had the Mona Lisa and like part of it's not quite right. It is enraging until it's right. And that's how it's supposed to work. So, know this. Particularly Nye Alpha coming in here, because a lot of you are going to be faux zen. You are built to be visionary hawks. Now, you've got to be heroic and everything, and therefore be a visionary hawk who actually knows how to like save people and solve crime and break, scientific cases. But that starts from actually unleashing your superpowers. And your main superpower is that you're a visionary hawk. And the angrier you get, the more dissatisfied you get, the greater you become, the stronger your mind is, right? Hawk. The angrier hawk gets, the stronger hawk gets. Hawk smash! Does that sound funny? That's what all the great Nye Alpha do. That stupidity makes me angry. So angry, I can't let it stand. I'm going to have to take a time out for my afternoon. I was going to go play video games or something, but I can't do that. Not with that stupidity out here. Oh my God, that's too grievous. So I'm going to forego going to my next level, Prince of Persia, and I was really looking forward to that. And I'm going to forego that to actually correct Young or any other micro-expression dude, any other people who are fucking up. I had to correct it. Even though I'll show people, I'm that much of a badass. Like, I can't stand that Matt being there. If I can go like, that's off, I can't walk off. Once I go, that's wrong, I have to go, I had to figure out why they got it wrong and then put what the correct answer is, at least in my sonomnia before I can sleep. So, it has to be angry enough. Like, when you're actually, like, someone's actually doing something at your work and you have a lot of work you're doing and they're being ignorant. And they've been kind of doing this for a while. This is a classic example. Maybe this makes sense. You really need to do what you're doing now and take a time out to explain to them that actually there's been this ongoing issue and like it's a problem and it's affecting work and it would take a lot. It's going to be a spiel. And you really have this deadline today to do. But click, 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 click. You're like, this is like the umpteenth time this has happened and it is becoming grievously ineffectual. So I'm going to have to miss this deadline in order to take the time I was going to use to clear that deadline to explain to you how your math, your life math, is wrong. That takes anger. You have to get angry, but isn't it better afterwards? It is better afterwards. For example, have you seen some in the wild when actually their leg is messed up and they have to like set it themselves? You have to get angry enough to hurt yourself. I'm telling you, Najee are awesome being survivalists, and a lot of times you have to be angry enough to like amputate your leg. A lot of it sounds horrible, but like that's anger has the ability to say that will be no more, and I don't care what effort it takes. So that can be physical, but with NIAF it tends to often be very like theoretical. Oh, I can't live in a world that has that. And then people say to you, you don't want to bark up that tree. That's what they say to you. Just, a lot of you people, I think, are just not knowing what's going on because memes and so forth and lack of proper training, and so you want to do the right thing and you're trying and you're the ones I'm looking for. But there are a lot of people, majority unfortunately, over for example these other forums, that the reason why you're getting stuff wrong is you're lazy. For example, I've met a lot of Najee like this. It makes me want to just cry. We've talked this recently. They're really smart, they're really spiffy and so forth, but they have a lot of good development, but they could be more. And let's say, for example, if they are a monotheist or a certain political affiliation, and you can tell that they're hired. Spirit forming would require them to go beyond that. It always does. NIAF by nature are unprecedented in their thinking. But that would mean inventing an entirely new political party. That would mean inventing an entirely new spiritual system. That would mean inventing, in case of Jung, an entirely new paradigm. Most people, and even NIAF, who aren't as great as they should be, are lazy about that, and they will go with Jung, with the monotheistic model, with a certain political thing, because I can get most of what I think truth is done that way. So you sold out like Jung on your first step, and I'm going to call you on it. So that's how it's going to roll. So, are we good on that? Visionary Hulk. Next, my thing is Coach. You'll notice that people call me Coach. That is because that is a title I have. And here in Pod Layer, we actually believe people should be treated that way. So, for example, Nisha, she has another name. It's another name that she is known by, and she feels comfortable with that in some settings. But overall, she identifies more with Nisha, so that is her name, and so we honor that. We're big about that. In fact, the internet is really interesting in this way, in that you are given, think about this, the internet, which should be thought of as more of like, the wild, wild west of technology, they actually have very advanced shamanic stuff, more advanced than most things, because humans are allowed to be more natural there. And one thing you see constantly is, both in the avatar and the screen name, the ability to self-brand that their own tribe does not allow them. That's just a huge phenomenon there, and that pisses me off. I don't like it. So, Hulk, get strong. Okay, so you will call me Coach because I'm teaching you. There's no way around this. I'm telling you right now, I could teach Carl Jung. I could teach anyone. You can bring the micro-expressions person. You can bring. I'm going to have to tell them what they're mapping. I'm going to have to say, with their computers, take your computer and hone in on this, and this means this, and go from there. They can't do it on their own, which means I'm teaching them. So I'm teaching, maybe against their will, too bad, but I'm teaching them, I'm educating them. Yeah, I'm going to educate them. They're getting educated, and that's the best people you have. So not only am I doing that, but really I am educating my close students. They feel a desire to educate you. And honestly, I don't feel like calling them off anymore, so go at it. So that's basically the plan. So you will call me Coach because that's what I am. I'm a teacher. There's absolutely no field of study you could possibly be an expert in. And when you walk into me, I'm sure if you're an expert in, say, particle physics or chemistry or, forensic homicide detective work, you could educate me about a scene of a crime. Okay, well, this whole world is a scene of a metaphysical fucking crime. And I'm the best Sherlock Holmes metaphysical detective there is. I'm Dr. Strange, okay? So I'm telling you what's going on here. So within that overall global crime that has every other crime within it, yes, a chemistry person could inform me on one of the many chemistry crimes, meaning like there was a chemistry theory that was off. So it was a chemistry crime, a theoretical chemistry crime. Then there was like other crimes. Okay, but the overall crime is the one that stumped you all, the major murder case. The major murder case is you all don't know what your heroic script is that was cut off from you, and you have not been able to get there. The best of you, the best and the brightest and boldest can't get there. So I'm going to teach you. There you go. By the way, Jonathan often goes by Adamus. If he wants to be called Adamus all the time, that's cool too, whatever he wants, because he's earned that right. When you do something worthy, you should be allowed to call yourself what you want to be based on that heroic exertion you did. Because the reason I'm spending time on this is because I think the poo-pooing on the heroic and super-heroic comes from that. It comes from a deep, like, people aren't supposed to shine. We talk this often like in academia and in like modern psychology, like shining bad, shining bad. No, shining not bad, shining good, okay? Shining gone wrong is, yes, Jack Nicholson is shining. So, but again, it's just fire not good, fire not bad. Fire is, and you can do it perfectly. So, there you go. And then one last thing before I get into a little more, because I want to tell you a little more of my superpowers and our plan of my students here doing their little expedition, because I'm going to let them do it, but I need them to do it a certain way, because I will make sure they're always being heroic. It's important to me. That is that my other, and this is the spiritual side, and again, if you don't accept this, I have no use for you. My other is Podlara. She's the reason I do it. She's why it's fascinating. Like, I like cracking cases because I'm a Ni Alpha, but actually the reason that is because as a Ni Alpha, I have a Ni Alpha as my other, and we are one. So it's the excitement of making her pleased with me. That's more important than you guys would have. So this gets to the lexicon of terms and why they're weird. Because she likes her weird, so that's it. Seriously, end of discussion. I dwarf you with supernatural powers, she gives them to me, and she does that because she likes me, which means she likey is the top priority for me. Finally, just going with that is, she is there for Podlara theory. So when you attack Podlara theory, you're attacking my psychological lover, so know that I'll give you no quarter. Now you may think, oh, that makes you like too defensive. No, because she hates it when I'm stupid. She's like that. So if I'm right, she hates it when I'm attacked. But if I'm wrong, she likes me to be corrected and fix that. So finally, she's the reason why I'm doing this. Not just the fun part, but showing it to you all. So if at any point she stops liking this, I'll just leave. And you guys won't solve these cases on your own. So know that your biggest concern is pissing me off enough that I stop filming, stop doing this. Because right now, every day, I try to actually wiggle out of having to publish stuff. I don't want to do it. I want to take the people I have and run down and make like underwater lair and like just train them. That's how I am. So I'm staying out in the open. I know, out in the open, dude, you're hiding behind like 18 levels of security. That's out in the open for me. Okay, so no, that's as good as it gets. And if you displease my other, I'll take that away.